Hi, good morning. Today, 2 days back, it was World Tobacco Day. Today, I would like to talk about the status of production and consumption of tobacco in India. First, let me start with some facts. In the year 2016-17, it was known through a study that there were 26 crore Indians who consume tobacco and tobacco related products. And this number is the second largest in the world, only after China. While everyone or many people are aware of the kind of diseases that are caused due to consumption of tobacco, like lung cancer, heart diseases, and many more, there is also an economic burden due to the loss of lives and the health issues caused due to consumption of tobacco and tobacco related products. Let me give you a figure. According to a study of 2021, in year 2017-18, there was a loss of 1.7 lakh crores to the country due to the health issues caused to the consumers of tobacco and related products in the country. In the same year, 2017-18, the budget for the health from the government was 48,000 crores. While I don't want to point out whether the number 48,000 crores is high or low, I want you to focus on the amount of loss that I mentioned, which is 1.7 lakh crores. It's a huge number. So far I talked about the effect of tobacco and related products on consumers. There is also a risk to the producers of the tobacco products, the workers who work in the factories of tobacco for processing tobacco. There are around 60 lakh people working in tobacco industries, and there is a risk to their health because while processing tobacco, the tobacco can get absorbed into their skin and cause a lot of diseases. So far, we have seen what would happen if a person consumes too much of tobacco and tobacco related products, what would happen to the people who are involved in the processing of tobacco products. But there is also, at the level of production of tobacco, production of waste, tobacco waste, which also occurs at the level of consumption. The cigarette butts, the plastic, the paper, the toxic chemicals that have to be disposed of. There is a certain process to dispose them of. And there is around 1.7 lakh tons of tobacco waste that is generated every year, or generally in a year. And to be able to clean off this tobacco waste, the cost is 6,367 crores per annum. If it is about humans and their health, it is also about the nature. Planting tobacco crops in the field of agriculture, the tobacco crop quickly takes up the nutrients of the soil very fast, because of which there is a need of recouping the nutrients through the use of large amount of fertilizers, and using large amounts can be counterproductive to the recouping of the nutrients of the soil. Not only this, the processing and production of tobacco is also a major contributor to deforestation. For processing 1 kg of tobacco, 5.4 kg wood is needed. So far, having understood the human impacts of negative impacts of tobacco on humans as well as nature, it is quite natural that governments around the world have wanted to reduce the production and consumption of tobacco. Let us take the case of India. India in the past has legislated laws to prohibit the use of certain kinds of tobacco products, reduce the production of these products, reduce the consumption of these products. And there were surveys conducted to check what effect these laws and other government measures have on reduction in the consumption and production of tobacco related products. The first survey I would like to quote is a government survey, Government of India survey from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which is called National Family and Health Survey, NFHS. According to this survey of 2015-16, men over the age of 15, the total number of men over the age of 15 who consumed tobacco was 45%, and this number has dropped to 40% for the survey in between 2019 and 21. The same survey for the same time period for women over the age of 15 showed 8%, but over the period 2019-21 it went to 10%. Before actually going to the gist of the topic, I would like to point to two more facts from two more surveys, and these are global surveys. One is Global Adult Tobacco Survey. According to this, the number of people in India over the age of 15, it's not separately men or women, altogether over the age of 15, who consume tobacco and tobacco related products was 35% in 2009, and this number had come down to 30% in 2017-18. Another global survey which concentrates on the tobacco studies, tobacco reduction studies of youth between the age of 13 and 15, which was conducted in 2003, said that the number of youth that used tobacco in 2003 was 18% in India between the age of 13 and 15, the students. The 2019 survey said that it has come down to 10%. All this tells you one thing: there is a drop in the consumption of tobacco in India, but the drop is not enough, especially with respect to men, which still stands at 40%. There is a rise in the consumption of tobacco among women, although initially it was low and still remains low, but there is a rise of around 2%. and people between the age group 13 to 15 are also using tobacco. All in all, a survey, uh, an overall survey suggests that 29% of adults in India consume tobacco and tobacco related products. And therefore, it is important that the government takes measures, implements the legislations, or increases taxes on tobacco, or use other methods to ensure that the production of tobacco is reduced, not only production, the consumption finally. Firstly, let us take one effective method that is used globally to reduce the consumption of tobacco and tobacco related products. It is taxation. The Indian government imposes a large tax on tobacco products like cigarettes, smokeless tobacco products, and BDs. Over and above the GST, there is a tax, kind of an excise duty, that is imposed on the manufacturer of the product, tobacco product, and other kind of taxes. So all these additional taxes over and above GST are imposed by the government. Let me give you some numbers with regard to few of the products. Firstly, cigarette, it is 51%. Smokeless tobacco products like keni, pan, gutka, pan masala, all these kinds of products, it is 64%. BDs also have a tax of 22%. Despite such large taxes imposed on tobacco products, the people are yet not dissuaded from consuming these products as much as is wanted. It is because these products are affordable, in line with the income of the people. A study in 2021 in a journal called BMJ Tobacco Control says that cigarettes, BDs, smokeless tobacco products have become affordable in the preceding 10 years. So it is important that despite having large taxes for tobacco, the taxes need to be increased further. The global standard, and what I mean by taxes is the taxes on the final retail price of the tobacco and tobacco related products. The figures that I mentioned for cigarettes, smokeless tobacco products, and BDs are taxes over the retail price of the product. While the overall taxes for tobacco and tobacco related products is on the retail price in India is 58%, the global standard is 70%. And also, there was a convention that was held under the auspices of the World Health Organization in 2005, the Framework Convention to control the use of tobacco products, Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, it is called. India is a signatory to the convention and had also ratified the convention. And this, according to this convention, it is proposed that there should at least be a tax of 75% on tobacco and tobacco related products. So the 70% and 75% are much higher than what India imposes on some other tobacco and tobacco related products. And India should also increase it to these lines to dissuade the manufacturers as well as consumers of tobacco. Not only taxation, India can also impose laws, which India has done, to stop the usage or reduce the usage of tobacco and tobacco related products. One could ensure that there is a ban on the advertising of tobacco and tobacco related products, and there is a law that was legislated in 2003, the Cigarettes and Tobacco Control Act, which bans advertisements on tobacco products. But the tobacco companies, have found a way around it, although not a direct way. For example, the same act which was legislated in 2003, which I will call as COTPA Act for short for that act, is not clear on if tobacco products could be promoted through films and video games. In films, we generally see people using it. At the same time, there is a warning also that comes in small letters on the right of the screen or in the corners of the screen. But since there is no clarity, such kind of promotion keeps going on. In 2015, there was an amendment proposed to COTPA Act to ensure that promotion of tobacco products through movies and video games be considered as direct advertisement of tobacco and thus be banned. But it only remained as a proposal for amendment. The bill was not passed. Not only advertisements, there are other ways. Not only films and video games, there are other ways the companies are able to promote that, tobacco companies are able to promote themselves. Like, for example, advertising a certain product which is harmless, not as harmful as tobacco. Normally, we see the advertisements of a mouth freshener which is used by Indians after meals called Elaichi. The companies promoting these advertisements are also tobacco companies. And when a person becomes aware of this fact, when he goes out in the market, he will be kind of aligned to buy the tobacco products from the same company which is advertised for Ilachi. And this kind of advertisement is called surrogate advertisements. According in the same law, the COTPA law, there was an amendment that was proposed in the same year 2015 to ensure that there should be regulations on surrogate advertisements. But once again, the amendment was only a proposal, and the bill would not become a law. Not only this, there was another amendment that was proposed in 2020 to ensure that there is licensing for the production, consumption, for the production and distribution of tobacco and tobacco related products. And it is the same result for this as well. The proposal of amendment remained a proposal and bill was not passed. So far, we have discussed two ways of trying to reduce tobacco consumption. One is to impose high taxes. India can impose high taxes in line with the global standards, 70%, which India has not done. And second, even if India has some laws to reduce tobacco consumption, these laws need to be replenished. They need to be amended to make them even more stricter. The thirdly, which I'm going to discuss now, is once the laws are made, there should be strict punishment for the violation of these laws. If there is no strict punishment, the tobacco companies could simply pay a small fine and get away with violating the law. For example, if there are norms for packaging of tobacco, and if these norms are violated, the company, a company could get away with a small fine of say 5,000 rupees. Hence, the fines needs to be increased. The problem is the act that was legislated in 2003, the Cigarettes and Tobacco Control Act, had not revised its fines from 2003, and hence it has made it easy for the companies to violate the laws, pay fines, and repeat their same behavior of production, of high production of tobacco products. Not only this, many things could be done to change the behavior of the consumer. The government has legislated laws, the latest of which was 2019 law that prohibited the use of electronic cigarettes, the kind of cigarettes that makes use of batteries to heat up a liquid in a cartridge or a tank. The liquid would change into a vapor, a kind of an aerosol, majority of which consists of liquid droplets and vapor, which is then inhaled. It consists of, though it does not have tobacco, but it has a substance that tobacco contains called nicotine. Nicotine, though, is not harmful to health, but it's highly addictive. It is a stimulant and a recreational chemical. And once a person gets addicted to it, to the extent that the body cannot stay without it, it's a problem. And there is a law that was proposed to prohibit the usage of these electronic cigarettes. Though these cigarettes have been promoted saying that they are de-addiction products, but it's highly questionable. The safe level of tobacco in some of them is not zero. And the law that the government had passed is called Prohibition of Electronic Products, Electronic Cigarettes Act 2019. Despite there being a law that prohibits the manufacture of these cigarettes and sale of these cigarettes, distribution of these cigarettes, according to an online survey of 840 adults, it was found out that 23% of the adults use electronic cigarettes and 8% of them use it daily. Again, there is a lack of implementation of laws that is visible, which need to be rectified. There is one point that I would like to emphasize with regard to high taxations that I've talked about. If the government imposes high taxes on products, there is a likelihood of tax evasion. The likelihood of using such means as smuggling the tobacco products into India, illegal manufacture of these products, or buying these products or purchasing these products at jurisdictions which impose low taxes. Such tax evasion methods can be employed by people if high taxes are imposed by the government. But this cannot be a reason for not imposing high taxes on tobacco products. The government should, with its machinery, should ensure that the activities of tax evasion, related to tax evasion, be curbed. That is the solution here. And so And one more aspect of tax, which is probably not talked as much, is the tobacco companies have been involved in lobbying to ensure that they're exempt from certain kind of taxes, the taxes over and above the GST which they pay, like the cess. A cess is a specific tax that is imposed by the government for a specific period of time for a certain purpose. Until the government purpose is served, such cesses, they lobby the government. There is an index, and the and these manufacturers are from the manufacturers, the BD and small tobacco manufacturers that lobby the government. And there is an index that measures the tobacco interference in governance, which is called Tobacco Interference Index. And according to this index, in 2023, India ranked 40 out of 90 nations. And the score of India in 2021 was 57. Lower the score, better is the rank. India is below average, has a score of below average. Also, its rank in 2023, 40 out of 90 nations, is a low rank or an average rank. And finally, having talked about increased taxation, making laws, amending those laws to ensure the loopholes are not capitalized by the tobacco companies, and having strict punishment for the violation of laws is the need of the hour. Other than this, the government can also support the farmers and encourage them not to grow the tobacco crops as much as they're doing now, especially the large scale tobacco farmers. They can be enlightened to the fact that growing other crops is to their advantage, because let me take an example. The net return for a rupee of investment in tobacco is 1.48 rupees, whereas the same number for Johar is 1.84. Jowar is 1.84. The government can find ways to enlighten the farmers about such facts, and also the health effects of tobacco, the negative impacts on the farmers can be enlightened. And the government should also ensure that the livelihood of the farmers is not damaged because of reduced production or sowing of this crop. There are multiple studies from an institute called the Central Tobacco Research Institute that could be used to show the way to the governments and help the governments. So therefore, through this video, hopefully I was able to show the status of tobacco consumption, tobacco production in India, what the government has done, what could possibly be done, what the government can do. Were also pointed out. Hopefully you found this video interesting. Thank you.